Welcome to our noon edition of Arirang News. Here are the headlines topping this hour. Doctors at the top 5 big hospitals here in South Korea are set to hand in their resignations and walk out as of 6 a.m. on Tuesday in protest against the government's recent medical school quota hike. Related ministries have been holding a meeting to brace themselves as thousands of patients could be left at hospitals with no proper care for an indefinite amount of time. Russia's opposition leader Alexei Navalny was found dead on Friday at the Arctic prison where he was serving a 3-decade jail sentence. Though government officials told his mother that he had died of sudden death syndrome, suspicions are mounting as a paramedic told Russian opposition media that there were bruises over his head and chest. The 60th Munich Security Conference ended on Sunday, stressing the need for a stronger transatlantic alliance during the current tense times in geopolitics. Global leaders called for NATO to continue to support Ukraine against Russian aggression, as well as the need for a two-state solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Doctors at major hospitals here in Seoul are about to walk off the job to express their discontent over the government's decision to increase medical school admissions from next year. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo ordered hospitals to ban the mass leave. But at the same time, the PM and other officials are preparing measures such as expanding telemedicine services in case an exodus of doctors cripples hospital operations and patient care. Shin Se-byuk starts us off.
Tensions between doctors and the government are mounting as an expected massive doctor strike is only a day away. Last week, the Korean Inter-Resident Association announced that all residents at 5 major hospitals in Seoul are scheduled to submit their resignations by the 19th and will cease working after 6 a.m. on the 20th. This move is in response to an announcement by the government earlier this month saying it would increase the overall medical student quota by 2,000 to more than 5,000 by 2025 to address the chronic shortage of doctors in rural areas and specific medical specialties. The number of trainee doctors at these 5 major hospitals is approximately 2,700, accounting for over 20% of the nation's total. Should they proceed with their collective departure, it will inevitably lead to a significant gap in patient care. In fact, as of last Friday, a total of 715 residents across 23 hospitals have submitted their resignations. None, however, have been officially accepted yet. The government has also issued return-to-work orders to 103 doctors who have declined to work, with 3 failing to comply. Medical students are also gearing up to join the protests, planning mass leaves of absence. Last week, representatives from 35 of the nation's 40 medical schools agreed to submit a group application for leave of absence on the 20th. According to the Education Ministry on Sunday, some 160 medical students from Wonkwang University filed for a collective leave of absence, though these requests have yet to be processed. Amid the backdrop of collective action by doctors and medical students, the Health Ministry on Sunday sent a stern warning to doctors if they do not comply with the government's directives.
We will address the collective actions of the residents by following the law.
Under local medical law, the government has the power to revoke the licenses of doctors if they are criminally punished for not complying with an order to return to work. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo held a meeting with related ministries and announced a set of measures to address the medical community's collective actions on Monday, including expanding telemedicine services.
To ensure patients face no difficulties in accessing medical facilities, we will fully allow non-contact medical consultations in case doctors walk off their jobs.
Such services in South Korea have only been partially allowed since 2020 in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and have been expanded to patients in remote areas at night and during holiday periods only. Han also announced that the government plans to designate a total of 409 hospitals with emergency rooms to be on emergency alert mode to minimize any interruptions in care for patients with urgent needs. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Seoul's top office is optimistic about building formal diplomatic relations with Cuba, a country that was better known for its close links with North Korea. Apart from symbolizing a political breakthrough, South Korea-Cuba relations are reportedly going to benefit both countries' economies. The presidential office expects South Korea's trade volume to expand through direct trade, noting that Cuba largely produces materials needed to produce rechargeable batteries. Oh Soo-young has the details.
South Korea and Cuba's new diplomatic relations could lead to a win-win partnership in areas like energy and minerals for advanced technologies. That's according to Seoul's presidential office on Sunday in press material on the anticipated benefits of bilateral ties, which were formalized last Wednesday. Beyond the diplomatic significance of forging relations with the Latin American country, which has long held friendly relations with the North Korean regime, Seoul says a permanent mission in Havana can steadily build the foundation for greater economic cooperation, despite the current level of trade being restricted by US sanctions on Cuba. As of 2022, South Korean exports to Cuba hit some $14 million and imports roughly $7 million, mostly through third countries. The presidential office says it expects trade volume to expand through direct trade, noting that Cuba is the world's fifth largest producer of nickel and holds the fourth largest reserves of cobalt, which are both key materials needed to produce secondary batteries. It also produces marine products such as sea cucumbers and items such as luxury cigars and rum. Also, due to the Caribbean country's power generation and infrastructural needs, including telecommunications, as well as demand for household goods and electronics, there is a wide-ranging gap for Korean companies to fill. There are also prospects for expanding development assistance to Cuba and research collaborations in healthcare and the biosector with Cuba's wealth of medical experts. As much as the spread of Korean popular culture has been credited for formalizing bilateral ties, Seoul anticipates greater opportunities for exchanges in cultural events, tourism and sports, including baseball. The presidential office added that once its diplomatic presence has been established, Seoul intends to provide 24-hour consular assistance to Korean nationals in Cuba, and also seek out descendants of Korean independence activists who contributed to efforts to liberate Korea from Japan's colonization. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea has made clear that it's not happy with its decades-long ally Cuba forging diplomatic ties with South Korea. That's according to Seoul's Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho, who stressed that Pyongyang should come back to the negotiating table with Seoul before trying to reach Washington or Tokyo. Last week, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong offered a rare opening for Japan, which experts believe was a response to South Korea and Cuba building ambassadorial-level diplomatic relations. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil finds out more through an exclusive interview with the minister.
Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho told Arirang News that Kim Yo-jong's statement came amid the historic diplomatic development between South Korea and Cuba the day before.
I think North Korea must be in shock witnessing South Korea establishing diplomatic ties with Cuba. The only way for North Korea to get out from diplomatic isolation is to give up on its nuclear weapons as demanded by the international community.
Some experts warned that Kim Yo-jong's statement may be aimed at trying to sabotage the trilateral relationship between South Korea, the US, and Japan. But Minister Kim said this will not be affected.
The trilateral cooperation system between South Korea, the US, and Japan has never been more concrete since the Camp David summit last August. North Korea will never be able to get to Washington and Tokyo without going through Seoul.
On Thursday evening, Kim Yo-jong released a rare statement saying that there may come a day when Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visits Pyongyang so long as Japan does not bring up issues related to Japanese abductees and the regime's nuclear and missile programs. The statement came as Prime Minister Kishida said last week, now is the time to make bold moves and change the current situation, referring to relations with North Korea.
If Japanese and North Koreans make a bilateral deal, there will be a tension or differences of opinion between the allies in the situation between Korea, Japan, and the United States. And this is exactly something that the North Koreans are trying to achieve here, essentially to drive a wedge between Korea and Japan.
But the outlook for a possible visit to Pyongyang by Kishida seems unlikely under such conditions. On Friday, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said Japan could not accept Kim Yo-jong's conditions. The Japanese government acknowledges 17 citizens having been abducted by North Korea between the late 70s and early 80s. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
A video of frozen kimbap, a Korean-style roll that's been a soul food to many here, went viral on social media. The video has made many global viewers curious about how kimbap tastes, which is why we've seen related exports surge. Our An Sung-jin went to a company that produces kimbap to be sold globally and finds out what makes this dish so popular.
A quick snack or meal widely consumed by South Koreans, kimbap has been increasingly getting attention from outside of the country. It's usually made fresh, but the trend recently is kimbap that's frozen. Korean-American digital creator Sarah An's TikTok video of first trying frozen kimbap went viral with more than 10 million views. She said she was speechless and incredibly happy on how Korean kimbap has become so widely known in the US.
Basically, every Korean market which never carried frozen kimbap now sells their own brand, and all those get sold out. So I think it's become a staple that's just going to become more accessible as time goes on.
This company in Hadong, Gyeongsangnam-do province, produces an average of 13,000 frozen kimbaps a day using local vegetables. This is not only for domestic consumption, but also for export to nearly 20 countries. Once a kimbap is frozen, it can be stored for nearly a year and just needs a few minutes in the microwave. As products that contain meat cannot be exported, the kimbap that's shipped abroad is vegetarian and comes in varieties containing tofu, burdock, spinach, or other ingredients.
We want to eventually build factories outside of Korea so we can produce a wider range of kimbap with fewer limitations. So far, we've achieved our goal in branding kimbap not as Korean sushi, but as something originally Korean with its own name.
An expert says that there is more to the wave of Korean food than simply increased interest for Korean content, including K-pop, through social media.
Most importantly, this is all possible due to a vast improvement in South Korea's food processing and storage technology that allowed such products to be exported in good condition and taste for consumers abroad.
On the back of increased attention for convenient and healthy foods such as this frozen kimbap, exports of South Korea's rice-based processed products saw a hike. The value of exports exceeded $200 million for the first time last year, which has quadrupled the number from 2015.
To enhance competitiveness in the market, the government plans to increase the exports of rice-based processed products to $400 million of exports by 2028. It will also promote growth by investing in R&D and infrastructure. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Hadong.
New data shows South Korea's workforce is becoming increasingly older, with more people in their 70s in employment. According to Statistics Korea on Monday, the number of workers in their 70s rose by 11.4% on year in January to over 1.5 million people. The data also showed that last year, nearly a quarter of the population aged 70 and above were either working for more than an hour per week to earn income or working for a business operated by family members without pay. They were most commonly found to be working in agriculture, fishery, or forestry-related jobs. The European Commission will reportedly impose a €500 million fine on Apple for breaking EU antitrust laws. According to the Financial Times on Saturday, informants who have direct knowledge on the investigation suggested that the Commission will announce the decision of its antitrust probe early next month. This comes after a long-running investigation into Apple's alleged violations of antitrust regulations after music streaming app Spotify filed a complaint in 2019. The lawsuit centers around Apple allegedly favoring its own music platform and blocking iPhone users from cheaper alternatives outside the App Store. The reported fine would be one of the biggest financial penalties enforced by the EU on major tech firms. Now turning to Russia, outspoken Putin critic Alexei Navalny, who made global headlines when he was poisoned with a nerve agent in 2020, was found dead last week. Navalny died at the age of 47 in prison, where he was serving a sentence on charges of extremism. But bruising on his body is raising suspicions about his cause of death. Lee Seung-jae reports.
Jailed Russian opposition figure and one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's most outspoken critics, Alexei Navalny, died at the age of 47 on Friday. Navalny made global headlines in 2020 when he was poisoned with a nerve agent but survived following treatment in Germany before returning to Russia in 2021. Upon his return, he was arrested on charge of extremism and imprisoned before being sent to the IK-3 prison colony in the Yamalo-Nenets region within the Arctic Circle. Nicknamed Polar Wolf, only those accused of the very worst crimes are sent there. While the cause of death is still unclear, bruising discovered on his body has raised suspicions. Local reports say bruises were found on his head and chest at a hospital close to the prison. One medical source said that the injuries described by those who saw them appeared to be from convulsions. The source added that if a person is convulsing and others try to hold him down, bruising can appear, adding that the bruises on the chest can be a result of cardiac massage. Prison officials also said that Navalny said he felt ill before going off for a walk and collapsing. The sudden death and speculation that he had been convulsing have led some watchers to believe he was poisoned once again. The news of Navalny's death drew a forceful reaction from Western leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden, who blamed Putin, saying that what has happened to Navalny is yet more proof of Putin's brutality. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said Saturday that Russian troops have taken full control of Avdiivka, a town located near Donetsk. According to the Defense Ministry's Telegram channel, Russian President Vladimir Putin was informed that 31.75 square kilometers of territory had been taken from Ukrainian forces. It added that more than 1,500 Ukrainian service personnel were killed in the battle, with weapons and military equipment abandoned by retreating troops. The town is a strategically significant location for the Russians, as it allows its military to push back the front line from Donetsk, securing the military from Ukrainian attacks. This year's Munich Security Conference ended on Sunday. During this annual conference, world leaders gathered to address global security concerns. And this year's agenda included NATO support for Ukraine amid Russian aggression, as well as plans for a post-war Gaza. Lee Eun-jin has the details.
Over the weekend, world leaders came together in Munich to deliberate on the world's most pressing security challenges. The annual Munich Security Conference also serves as a barometer of U.S.-European relations. On the agenda was NATO's support for Ukraine amidst Russian aggression. The discussions followed remarks from U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump last week, suggesting he would not protect countries that failed to meet the transatlantic military alliance's defense spending targets, and would even encourage Russia to attack members that were not paying their share of costs. That not only sparked fierce criticism from Western officials, but has left European leaders anxious about the $60 billion Ukraine aid package bill, which still needs approval through a congressional vote. Meanwhile, Ukrainian and Western leaders emphasized that the $60 billion aid package is vital to Kiev's forces. 2 years on from the start of Russia's invasion, Moscow said on Sunday it had taken full control of the devastated eastern Ukrainian town of Avdiivka. NATO estimated that the U.S. spent around 3.5% of its GDP on defense in 2023, and 18 of its 31 members are expected to meet the target of at least 2% of GDP this year, up from 11 in 2023. The war in Gaza was also among the top issues discussed at the 60th Munich Security Conference. Following a meeting on Friday where senior U.S., Arab, and European officials met to discuss progress on formulating a plan for post-war Gaza that would be linked to normalizing ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there is an extraordinary opportunity in the coming months for Israel to normalize ties with its Arab neighbors, while also emphasizing the need for the creation of a Palestinian state. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In the U.S., 2 police officers and a paramedic were killed on Sunday morning in Burnsville, Minnesota, when responding to an emergency call of a family in danger. Local authorities have confirmed that the suspected shooter has also died. According to a statement released by Burnsville City, Officers Paul Emstrand and Matthew Rouge were killed along with the firefighter and paramedic Adam Finseth. Another officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The statement also reported that police were called to the residence at around 1:50 a.m. local time over an armed man who barricaded his home with his family members, including 7 children inside. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune reported that the police arrived at 2:30 a.m. and that the shooting began about 3 hours later. The city statement said, at approximately 8 a.m., the suspect was reported to be dead, and that later in the morning, the other family members left the home and are safe. There is no ongoing threat. A New York judge on Friday ruled that former U.S. President Donald Trump had to pay $355 million in penalties for overstating his net worth to deceive investors. In response, Trump, in his opening salvo at a Michigan rally on Saturday night, called the judge a lunatic. The penalty set by Justice Arthur Engoron is Trump's biggest punishment to date. Over the weekend, Trump lashed out to his supporters at a campaign rally, calling the decision an election interference ploy by left-wing conspirators and saying the court cases against him are not just an attack on me, they're an attack on all Americans. Justice Engoron's ruling included banning Trump from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation for 3 years, saying Trump and his co-defendants' complete lack of contrition and remorse borders on pathological. On Saturday, Trump also launched his own line of gold-colored high-top sneakers at a price of $399 at a sneakers convention in Philadelphia. In entertainment news, the 77th British Academy Film Awards, commonly known as the BAFTAs, were held on Sunday at London's South Bank Centre. Taking home the biggest awards of the night was the film Oppenheimer. The 3-hour epic on the story of the creation of the atomic bomb won Best Film and Best Director, as well as 5 other awards. With top celebrities and movie stars present, Cillian Murphy won Best Actor award for his role in the film Oppenheimer, and Emma Stone won Best Actress for her role in Poor Things. Scottish actor David Tennant hosted the night, while Hugh Grant introduced the Best Director awards using lines from the Oompa Loompa song from his role in the film Wonka. Prince William, who has been serving as the president of BAFTA since 2010, was also present. Moving over to motorsports, Finnish driver Esa-Pekka Lappi won Rally Sweden on Sunday, marking a second win in this season's 2 races for the Hyundai manufacturer team. Lappi's win is his first personal success since 2017. The South Korean constructor, Hyundai Shell Mobis World Rally Team, also won the season-opening Monte Carlo Rally in January, with driver Thierry Neuville taking first place. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's Usu today, the second spring seasonal term. Usu literally means rainwater, with snow melting into rain and welcoming spring around this time. To meet the term, it's a rainy one nationwide today, with a rain and wind advisory issued this morning. Busan, Ulsan could see rain coming down hard earlier in the day, but it should let up as the day goes on, while the central parts of the country will see 5 to 40 millimeters of showers through late this evening. Rain clouds kept the warmth overnight. The capital had the warmest February temperatures this morning, but there will be a sharp drop again tomorrow morning. But for today, most parts are having warmer daytime highs, and Sunday, despite the rainfall, at 12 degrees here in Seoul, Busan topping out at 18 degrees Celsius. Now, those in the east of Gangwon-do province need to brace for heavy snowfall of more than 10 centimeters tomorrow, but the rest of the country will see more up and down temperatures this week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for you at this hour. We'll bring you more updates about Korea and the world at the same time tomorrow.